Welcome to the Asian Dating Podcast. I'm your host, May Bugenhagen. Today we have Kerry Blazer, who's going to join us today, and she's going to talk a little bit about her life story growing up in Southern California in a single mother household, and where she then met a great man, got married, divorced after 10 years. We're going to just talk about some of her knowledge and wisdom that she's gained with others as inspiration to transform her emotional wounds into personal wisdom. So, Kerry, thank you for joining us today. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on the Asian dating. I speak Chinese. I have a
Yes.
master's in Chinese. So I have some qualifications. I did have a Japanese guy fall in love with me when I was in China. I have some qualifications here. Yeah.
Great, great. Kerry, tell us a little bit about you and your story.
I was born in Scottsdale, Arizona, and then we quickly moved to Europe for a couple of years. And then my family moved when I was 5 to Southern California. But a year later, they got divorced when I was 6 years old. So my brother, my mom, and I moved into an apartment. We lived in a very affluent town, but we were not affluent, and my parents fought constantly. My mom was an alcoholic. My dad was a workaholic. I got a job at 14 at Hot Dog on a Stick, with the colors and the lemonade. And I worked there for 6 years. And May and I, my middle name is May, but May and I, we both went to UCSB, and my Chinese name is Bao Jieying. And I got that at UCLA. I did an intensive Chinese one summer, and I got that name. And I studied abroad in China. I met my ex-husband in Tibet in 1993, and he's Israeli. We got married in 95, had 3 beautiful kids, but because neither of us had healed from our childhood trauma, like I didn't know how to be healthy in my femininity. I was in my masculinity, providing and protecting for myself because of my childhood trauma. So, we argued a lot and I didn't know how to forgive. And so I initiated a divorce, and I have to own that. And that was 20 years ago. 10 years later, when my mom passed away on my birthday, my intuition told me to accept my psychic gifts and heal from my childhood trauma, and that's what I did. And so my book that I'm here to share is basically how I went from like 6 years ago from a suicide attempt to embracing my shamanic gifts to experiencing enlightenment, all fueled by several prominent men that I attracted into my life who helped me see the parts of me that were wounded and needed love and healing and self-belief. And they include men like Andrew Tate, 2 Fire Academy instructors, former FBI assistant special agent in charge, former chess champion, the top tier players. Those are the kind of men that I attracted into my life. And I had to accept that if I attract those kind of men into my life, then I'm wounded too. And so in accepting that, I was able to heal.
I mean, Kerry, your story is incredible. I mean, you've transformed pain into purpose, writing your book and learning more about yourself. Like, how did your healing journey change the way you approach relationships and dating today?
Well, I'll tell you that 5 years ago, I got excited because I was about to start talking to the first man in my book, who I call my heroes, because I thought I was ready. Okay. But what I quickly found out is that if a man's flirting with me at yoga, he's kind of dangling how affluent he is, he's in good shape, he's not asking me out, then maybe I have some work to do. And that's really what I found out. And I had to accept about myself. Like about 6 months after my suicide attempt, I met my first hero. I called Tim. And during our first conversation, I turned around, he talked to me, and I just shut down. I was scared. Like, I didn't let him talk to me for another year. I did 4 medicine journeys, learning how I don't love myself, because if I don't love myself, how can I really love someone else? Like, if I don't know how to treat myself with nurturing care and forgiveness, like, this is where it all starts, is the relationship to self, then, and I got all that negativity in my heart because I haven't healed. that's what I'm going to pour onto someone else. And so that's what I really started seeing, especially with Tim quite quickly, is that I kept getting triggered and I would blame him for my triggers at yoga. And it ended up in a huge fight, and we almost stopped talking. Now, luckily we didn't, but I had to accept that the universe is a mirror showing me myself in every moment as a constant feedback loop for self-improvement. Because, he sure wasn't asking me out. And I was quite argumentative and confrontational, and I had a lot to work on for sure.
So, for the people listening right now, how do they know that they need to work on themselves and love themselves before they can allow someone to love them or be open enough to love someone else? How do they know that they need to work
Hmm.
on that?
Well, that's the reason that we're here. So, we're souls having a human experience. The physicists have proven that we all have energy bodies or souls. And so the universe is a mirror and it shows us ourselves. So when you attract someone into your life, the whole purpose is to grow together, whether it's to grow together and sit with 6 months, to grow together in a lifetime relationship. It just, it all depends on the relationship. So every person you attract into your life is based on your wounds, giving you an opportunity to grow. So that's just the baseline. But if you're not getting the results that you desire, let's say that, you're dating and you want to marry, but you're not getting those results as a woman. You keep attracting in player after player after player. Well, then that really shows you that you have work to do. It's not that, I mean, sure, they have damage, but what your soul, what the universe is showing you is that you also have damage, and that because you're attracting in these men who don't know how to commit, and that's a huge problem I see in today's society. Now, granted, I'm 55, I have my kids, I'm not in the same situation as a younger woman, dating, wanting to get married. But I would say if those are the kind of men you're attracted to, pull yourself back and start the self-reflection process and really turn those wounds into wisdom because we attract what we are. So you're wounded, we attract wounded. Yeah.
But how do you turn those wounds into wisdom? I guess is what I'm asking. If
Okay.
they are attracting the wrong type of guys, do they go to therapy? Do they read some self-help books? Do they visit a shaman? Do they visit a psychic? Like what's the first step for them to be like, you know what, I need to work on this.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, I have an ebook that I can share that we can share with your audience, and it's called My Six Divine Feminine Self-Love Strategies. And so the first one is called Appreciate, Learn, Forgive equals ego death. And so the first step in healing for anyone across the board is start a gratitude practice. Be grateful. Be grateful for your house, for the tree, for the bird, for the sand, for the water. That was where, I mean, like when I was 30, I almost died when I was 30, and I didn't know how to be grateful to God because I had lived. Like it was that bad for me. So this is why the gratitude not only does it put you in the right headspace, but it also helps balance out your hormones and decreases your cortisol, which is your stress hormone. And once your heart is open, that surrender happens. Then your heart is open. It's time to go into that emotional pain and learn your lessons through self-reflection. So you can ask yourself, what's the wisdom inside of this wound? What is my soul? What are you showing me? What are you trying to teach me? And there's a lot of examples in my ebook and also in my book as well. But you can Google self-reflection questions, right? And then what I noticed is once I turn that wound into wisdom, and I'll give you an example in a second, then the forgiveness just naturally happens, and then you've just killed part of your ego. So when I first started learning how to surf, I call it surf the waves of life, go into my pain and come out of my pain, because I never learned as a child because my parents didn't know how. My mom used alcohol and my dad used work for, to repress. So my youngest daughter, and this is her artwork right there. I needed to apologize to her because I was wrong, and it wasn't healthy in my femininity. And forgiveness is a right brain feminine activity. So I was struggling. I was hitting my wounds. So I asked myself, okay, so what is my lesson here? Why am I having this problem? And my subconscious, my shadow, or my wounds are, told me that I have a belief that if I apologize, then she'll leave me. And I'm like, apology equals failed relationship? That's not logical, right? And I'm like, well, what's logical is if I apologize, then she'll stay. And then I had like the kind of the glow up, when you kind of get that, you feel all that energy go through you. I'm like, oh, that's the wisdom, right? So then I had turned my wound into wisdom because my mom never apologized. My dad, I had no model for that. And so I called her up and I apologized and everything was okay. And that's the process. Like we call it like reparenting. And people have probably heard that, right? Like reparenting, what is it really is recalibrating your nervous system to resonate with love, compassion, and enlightenment instead of fear, guilt, and shame. And that's what I had done in that moment is instead of being fearful that they're going to leave, I was compassionate and loving and honestly said, I'm sorry. And it's a long, involved process. But like, especially for women, if you have a hard time saying you're sorry, if you have a hard time forgiving other people, if you have a hard time being compassionate, like we saw a lot of that, with the whole Charlie Kirk thing, that a lot of women were not compassionate around that. And I was like, well, compassion is feminine. And we see women aren't feminine or women that don't want kids, the kids are feminine, a lot of it. So this, I would say, are kind of signals that they have, aren't healthy in their femininity. So if you're kind of questioning, am I healthy in my femininity? You can Google femininity and look, like, are you good at, showing compassion, at being nurturing, at forgiving, or, does your heart open around young kids and animals? That kind of shows you that you're healthy in your femininity. Or, I mean, I argued and fought my way through life to the past until the past couple years. I mean, I was, yeah, it was gnarly. I fought a lot. I was not healthy in my femininity. No.
So, are you healthy in your femininity now? Like
Yeah.
what what noticeable differences are you seeing in your day-to-day life?
Well, I expanded my emotional range to include enlightenment. And so I'm able to kind of dive into my emotions, understand them, and come out. So I don't spend all day long in like my lower back pain or my upper back pain. And so, two ways I know that I've done so much great work is that my lower back pain is gone that I had for 35 years. And I say a lot of women have pain in their hips. Like if you have a lot of hip pain, you probably have childhood trauma as a woman because we store our pain or we store our value. So you see all those exercise, yoga, somatic exercises for the hips. And then after doing it for a few days, the woman finally cries. That's because she's releasing that pain, in the hips. So that's one way to know. So that's what me at yoga, hot yoga for 5, 6 years really helped me release all that pain. So I don't have lower back pain. And then you might also have upper back pain because that's what the back of your heart. So when you're guarding your heart, then your upper back is constantly out. So I used to have so many chiropractic appointments and now I don't need a chiropractor. And like people say how young I look and how much I glow all the time. And I'm 55. I got on the Zoom call. Someone's like, how are you 25? How old? No, wait, you were married. And so that innocence from within just shines through. And so you'll notice that, like, I haven't gotten sick in 5, 6 years. I don't get sick anymore, even though I'm out all the time because I vibrate so much higher than viruses and cancer. And that's the value of the work. Like if you're getting colds and bacterial infections, cancer, other kind of bodily issues. Our bodies are a mirror of the soul too. That shows you that you have unhealed emotional wounds. That's just, kind of showing itself in the body.
So, are you saying that someone who is sick all the time with colds or flus or backache or whatever that may be, they just have a lot of things that they need to work through, whether it's lack of empathy or compassion, or they have trauma that they need to sort out still?
Yeah, so all of that is mirroring what's going on in the soul, and that's mirroring all the self-hate. So when I don't have compassion for someone else, that's showing me my lack of compassion for myself. And it's not saying I don't have a healthy boundary. No, I do 100% of healthy boundaries. But that I would say if you're like they've done tons of studies now, there's just like cancer study and autoimmune study after study showing that all these are the people pleasers, the people who don't engage in appropriate self-care, who put other people before themselves, who are busy taking care of everybody, and that they're last. And I realized that I was like that. I had a self-belief that I was the problem. Well, if I'm the problem, I'm just constantly want to be nice to everybody, so maybe they'll be a little bit nice to me. And I had to unlearn what I believed in my subconscious, which is that I am the problem. But the only way to start diving in is to give yourself permission to dive in. That's where the gratitude comes from and the gratitude practice. Because I know from self-experience and all the reading that I've done in literature and psychology that is the main thing, that we're not grateful for what we have. And because there's so much hate, I had so much hate for myself in my heart that when I pour from my heart, because souls communicate through our heart spaces, what comes out is hate. Like if you go to a Starbucks and a guy's yelling about his blueberry muffin not being heated, I mean, that guy had problems before he arrived at Starbucks, right? Like if you're a guy in a relationship, right, and she can't stop yelling at you and she doesn't have emotional control, then I would say that's okay, maybe it's time for you to leave. Like, value yourself and a healthy boundary. I found that when I learned to draw a healthy boundary, it just changed myself and relationships because when I don't allow negativity into my field, like if someone calls me, bitch, or the B word, and I just say, I'm sorry, you can't talk to me like that, then I leave them in their own problems, and then they have to self-reflect, and they change every time. Like that's the only way to get an apology out. So really, if you're thinking, well, how do I attract and how do I get a better person? You have to be a better person to attract a better person because we attract what we are. And
Yeah,
that's just basic laws of physics,
I
law of
agree. I
attraction.
agree with that completely, that you attract the type of person you are. So, what about other aha moments that you have when it comes to dating based on what you've learned the past 10, 20, 30 years?
Yeah, so I'd say that the biggest aha moment, for me, like the first really big one was with my first enlightenment experience. And, I was born in 1970, so I was one of the first women taught, yeah, go to college. You don't need a man, make your own money, and do it all, Carrie, get a PhD, have kids. Like, no one said, Carrie, engage in self-care. It's like just be a man and a woman together. And so this is what I learned and how I saw how much it killed me. And I attempted suicide and if I can learn classical Chinese, then, I'm pretty smart. Like I should be able to do a thing or two. And so if anyone could do it, it should be me. But I also attempted suicide. So, I learned that we're lying to women that we want to be equal to a man in the sense of be like a man. And so, and that sexual promiscuity is healthy, but sexual promiscuity, we now know through multiple studies, destroys women's ability to pair bond as wives and mothers. And that's why women who've been sexually promiscuous, are more likely to cheat and go on to other relationships or, not being able to engage with the kids. And so how do you start a healthy nuclear family, which is the bedrock of a stable society? So I'd say here's what I found, and is that around 2000 years ago, we started repressing divine feminine. And so divine feminine got repressed and divine masculine got kind of, obsessed over like, he got, so then we had for women to value their femininity is for divine feminine to be equal to divine masculine. And divine feminine is the emotional center of a relationship. And this is where what I realize is no one ever taught me how to occupy the center of a relationship, and women were source energy. And so we channel the souls for the babies, and our nervous systems are more robust than men's nervous system because we got to handle all those emotions in the emotional center. And so the emotional intimacy is where mental health is created and sustained. So if women want to, create and sustain a healthy nuclear family, then they have to be able to dive into their emotional pain and come out of it and then model and teach that to the rest of the family. And so when women, if women were supposed to be in the center, but we left, like everyone's like out of balance, and then men in the center, well, they can't be there. Like they're not physiologically designed for that job, and their nervous systems are far more fragile than the feminine nervous system. This is my advice, like to women, is learn how to occupy the emotional center of a relationship. Open your heart. I'll, have him come and bring his emotional pain to you, and then you process it through. That's one of the things that men give women. Not only they give us the house, and the sperm for the kids, but it's also we're the emotional center. So the pain goes into us and then comes out of us.
Can you tell the audience the name of your book? And I'll put all of your information in the show notes if they want to contact you. Before I let you go, will you tell the audience how they can get in touch with you?
Sure. My website is kerryblazer.com, Blaser. That's my maiden name. My book is My Inner Heroine, Exploring Feminine Pain. And on my website, you can book a session with me, or you can send me an email, contact me. I have a newsletter too.
Okay. Well, thank you, Kerry, for your time today on the Asian Dating Podcast. And ladies, if you're out there and you're looking to find a great guy, or men out there looking to find a great Asian woman, you can contact me at 2asianmatchmakers.com. And thank you so much, Kerry, for joining me today.